Hey, good morning, everyone. I am excited that you're all here on this lovely October morning. Hey, Annette, wondering if you can all just quick drop a line in the chat box on the left-hand side of the screen. We've got a lot of new people on today, a lot of familiar faces as well. But this really will help me, A, know that my sound is working. So is my sound working? Can you hear me? And B, lets you know where that chat box is. So the goal of this is that it is interactive. You're able to ask questions. We are able to really help you grow your business. So if you can go ahead, drop a line in that chat box. I know that it's working. Hey, everyone. Awesome. So today we are talking about building a farm and really what creates an effective farm, what are the time commitments, what tools you have in your IQ office to help you with that farm. So we are going to be doing a few slides. I've got about 10 slides of information to, hey Tom, to go through with you. In between each section, we're gonna just touch on where and how to access things within your IQ office. Also, for those of you that are not members of our Facebook group, I would really encourage you to join that group. We want to make sure that you have a chance to ask questions and interact with us, and online is really the best place. I'm going to go ahead and share that link in the text chat box with you now so that you can go ahead and join there, and we can really interact with you. The other thing that will happen on that Facebook group is we will be announcing the full integration of the Back at You software that gives you access to really utilize your social media on a with them a few months ago, and the full integrations of how that will affect you and your business are coming. So watch for more announcements there as well. So farming, let's talk about starting a farm, and let's talk about what you need to do between now and the end of the year to effectively launch your farm come January 2020 and really work your sphere or your geographic farm. So before we do that, how many of you currently have a farm that you are working and you would say that it is defined, you're consistently marketing it, and you have leads coming in from that farm? So how many of you have that? If you don't have that, type not yet, that's why I'm here, that's why I'm here, something like that in the chat box. So we've got a couple people, it looks like Catherine has that, a couple people chatting individually to me. Awesome. Cool. So that's what we're going to talk about. The few things that you do need to keep in mind, awesome, with farming is there's a lot to go into defining that farm area. Are you farming a geographic region? So are you farming a specific neighborhood, or are you farming a certain style of house? So a farm can definitely be a geographic location. Hey, I'm farming my neighborhood. I'm farming the 100 closest people to my house. A farm can also be a specific home type. So you may be farming homes in your market. So in my market here, right now, the most popular style of home that's selling is a rancher style home, about 1,500 to 1,800 square feet, preferably with a bonus room and room for a shop. So if I were to identify that hot market here, that's definitely what people are looking for. When you're thinking about, are you going to do a geographic region or a style of home with your farm, you need to also make sure you're asking yourself that second question on that list, and that is, are homes selling in that area, or is that type of home selling? Because if those homes aren't selling, your farm is not going to be effective, right? You have to know, like, hey, it's a neighborhood. It has about between 15 and 20% turnover annually, which means at least 15 to 20% of those homes are selling. That means there's that many people moving in and there's that many people moving out. The next thing you need to talk to yourself about and really strategize when you're defining that farm area is, who lives in the house now? So who is going to be receiving your information now that you're sending out and working? And the second part of your farm needs to be who is looking for those homes. So when you're creating your farm, I recommend a good farming list of people should be about 200 people, and 100 of those people should be the people that live there now, looking for sellers, and 100 of those people should be people who are going to move into those homes. So who is going to live there next? 100 in each category to really drill down what your farm is. And the fifth question is, how are you finding these people? Are you pulling up the addresses in MLS? Are you using county resources? Are you reaching out to title and having them help you with that? Are they people from your sphere of influence? Really working on that strategy of how do I find these people? And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to find those people today as well. So the first thing that you need to do when you're creating that farm is going in and running a full MLS search that matches the criteria that you've written down for your farm. So you've written down, hey, I'm looking for, my farm is going to be in this radius of this location, or I'm going to farm this style of home. You need to run a full MLS search before you start farming that to make sure that you do have homes that are turning over in that area. Ideally, you want at least 15% turnover in your farm so that you know that people are moving. Any questions on that part so far? Any questions at all? By the way, there's no such thing as a silly question. If you have a question, someone else likely has that question too. And I'm more than happy to answer them all. Cool. The next part you want to do is you want to build a strategy around that farm. So you have identified a geographic or style of home that you're going to farm. And then you're going to build your strategy. Beth, I'm going to come back to that. And then you're going to think about building your strategy around what that farm is. Beth just said 15% seems like a really high turnover rate. It is when you think about if you're farming a very small population. But if you're thinking, Beth, that's the reason that I say you need to be farming at least 200 people. Because then that 15% for 200 is not as large of a number. So that means that there are about 30 homes in that targeted area that you are seeing turnover in a year. So 30 homes out of the 200 list that you're creating, or 230 homes within that search. And if you're not getting to that 15%, then you either need to A, redefine what your farm is, or B, take a larger view. So 15% is 30 homes within 200 that are moving in an annual time frame. So you're going to run a full search for 2018 on a certain neighborhood or on a certain style of home. If there's not a 15% turnover, then you need to tweak your farm to fit that. Because the goal of your farm should be to get leads. That doesn't mean that you had to sell them. That means just that they are sold. Does that make sense, Beth? Does that make sense, I guess, to everyone else why you're looking for that 15%? So, and I want to just make sure I'm telling you this. So Beth, this is not a 15% rate of return on your farm. So this isn't, hey, in my 200 people, I'm getting 30 people in my farm to sell every year. This is defining the target of who is in your farm to make sure that you're targeting a farm that has potential to convert to leads. I'm glad you asked that second question. So the 15% return on your farm is not what you're looking at now. Right now, what we're talking about is I'm putting in my statistics into MLS that say, hey, it's this many square feet and it's this many bedrooms and bathrooms. And I'm making sure that there are at least 30 homes out of 200 that fit those demographics that have sold in the last year, so that I know that the farm that I'm creating has potential to move. Does that make more sense, Beth? Yep. So we're not, when we say that 15 to 20% turnover, we're not talking about the people in your farm. We're talking about that MLS search. We're talking, are there at least 30 homes in that price range or in that geographic area or in that style that are moving on an annual basis? If the answer is yes, then you've got a farm that has potential to convert to leads. If the answer is no, you need to tweak your farm so that you have a chance to convert those leads. So you're targeting people who are going to move. So the next section is building your strategy. And I was reading over the weekend about advertising and how often we're bombarded by advertising, and really just doing my final reach for this class and what needs to be done. And your strategy needs to be more than just sending out postcard or just door knocking or just doing Facebook advertising. It really needs to include at least 3 of the things on this list. The more of the things on this list that you can include, the more effective your strategy will be. So sitting open houses, sending out postcards, doing door knocking. I know that door knocking is super intimidating for some people. Some people love door knocking, but it can be a really good strategy, especially for a geographic farm. Facebook advertising and Facebook, just in general, having a business page on your Facebook. You should be targeting your farm there as well. And then really working your blog. So those are the 5 pieces of the strategy that we're going to jump into today to help you build that farm. So you are building your farm, you're building your strategy, and then you're going to talk about the scheduling of your strategy. So how often are you hitting people within your farm? You want to be in front of these people at least 3 times. Thomas, I'm going to get into a little bit more of that as well. So 3 times a month is at least. That means on that list of strategy, you're doing at least one of these, 3 of these things once a month. More is better. And you need to schedule your time. So the statistic about advertising that I read was that we as consumers now, just generally speaking, run into about 5,000 advertisements a day. And of those 5,000 advertisements a day that we can recall, not brand specific, not anything like that, just like, hey, yep, I saw an ad on real estate, or hey, I saw an ad on furniture, or I saw an ad for wedding dresses, or whatever it is. Just generally, we can recall that we saw about 50 ads generically, and that we only remember 4 ads a day. So when it comes to getting out there and getting in front of this farm, the more you can do it, the better. And to do it across multiple mediums will have a higher impact. So if you're sitting in open house and then you're sending out a postcard and then you're writing a blog post and then you're running an advertisement that links to that blog post, you will have a higher return for your farm than if you're just sending out a postcard. You also need to be consistent. So this needs to be something that you are doing monthly, at least 3 times a month within that farm, and you need to have at least a 12-month time frame. Farming is a really long-term, big picture undertaking, and you need to be ready to commit to at least a year of it. You're building an audience for your product. And Thomas just asked a really good question, and that was, We have a lot of realtors within each neighborhood that there's a lot of competition with. How do we distinguish ourselves from the competition? So Thomas, one thing that I have found, and I know some of you on this know me and some of you don't, but I've been in the real estate industry since 2012. I do currently hold a license. I used to run a brokerage here in North Idaho, and I've transitioned into training and coaching. And so I understand that question tenfold. One, if you're going to distinguish yourself, you need to talk about what you do differently, not what you do that's the same. So when you're sending out a postcard about why you got in the business, we all got in the business because we enjoy people, we're ethical, and we're hardworking. But what makes you different than the other person that's sending that out? One thing that will be different is consistency. So the more consistent you are, the more that messaging comes through, and the more consistent you are through multi-mediums, the more that will come through. The other thing you need to do is focus your intentions. So when you talk about distinguishing yourself, once you've come up with your strategy and you're focused on your strategy to work your farm and your business, you need to be consistent in what you're doing with everything you do for your whole business. So with working your farm, you're consistent, and with promoting your listings, you're consistent. And with what you're putting on your website, there's a consistent theme and voice to all of it, and it will help that continuity. We all know there's an extremely high rate of turnover in this industry, and so being consistent and doing what you say you're gonna do and doing it often and well will automatically put you ahead of the competition as you're coming out of the gates and working on your plan. And you need to provide value. So provide value before people ask for it. So if you know that you have some great tips on how to stage a home, those are great things to share with your farm and with your sphere. Those are separate things, by the way, but provide value before people need it. Right now, the average time that people are staying in their home is about 6 years. We all know that dreaded statistic from the National Association, about 87% of people use a different agent when they go to buy again. And so provide value before people need it. Get them good information, be the resource of their information, be their trusted source, and stay on top of industry trends so that you know what's happening in the business, so that when it comes time to buy or sell, you are their voice of trusted information and taking them through the process. So let's start to jump into each of those items. So we're going to talk about open houses first. So some open house tips. If you are sitting an open house, sit an open house that fits in your farm. You need to be strategic about the open houses that you're sitting. Open houses are often seen as a great place to pick up buyers and sellers, but in order to make them the most effective with the other marketing you're doing, please make sure that they fit within your farm. You're spending a lot of time and energy to get that farm up and running. You should be sitting open houses in your farm where people can find you. When you're scheduling your open house, please make sure you choose times that people can come. You know your market better than anyone. And if you're choosing a time on Saturday morning between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m., you're probably not going to have great traffic. I do think that there's a sweet spot with open houses that's about 4 hours, where it gives people the opportunity to show up, but you're not losing your entire day. If you're scheduling an open house, check your community calendars and cross-promote with community events. So if you know that your farm has a big community garage sale on the second Saturday of October, that would be a great time to hold an open house, because you will have great traffic from what the neighborhood is already doing. You should be sharing these things on social media. You also should be requiring a sign-in at the open house to capture the leads that are coming in. So let's just talk quickly about how you do some of these things within your IQ office. So I'm going to jump over. I'm going to share my screen with you. If you could shoot a text in that chat box so I know you can see my screen, that is also very helpful. Cool. So to schedule your open house, for those of you that don't know how to schedule your open house, you're going to go over into the listings tab on the left-hand side of the screen. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so it's bigger. So there's a listings tab on the left-hand side of your screen, and you can go to open houses. This is where you can go in and you can create an open house by clicking plus open house in the upper right-hand corner. You can type in the MLS or you can scroll through your listings. You would make sure that you're holding it. This will default to your name. You choose the date and you choose the time. Now, something to keep in mind when you're putting in your open houses is how do you know when to put your open house in? Buyers are searching the words open house up to 3 times a week. The sooner you know when your open house will be held, the better off you are to put it in. Put it in early. You can always go in and edit the time, but you are going to help your open house gain exposure if you're putting it in as soon as you know that you're hosting the open house. Now, when we talk about that, hey, I was going to hold an open house on this weekend, but it was a really hot listing and it sold. Should I still have put that open house into IQ Office to display on the website if it's going to cancel? Yes. Give yourself an opportunity to show up in search results. If you need to delete it or cancel it, delete it or cancel it. That's okay, but don't take yourself out of search results. From this open house screen, you also can easily print the flyers. So you can easily print the flyers for the open house. You would click print flyer. I say, hey, I like this open house orange. It's going to process. It's going to enter in all of the listing information automatically from the MLS. You can change the photos if you'd like. They'll naturally crop to the right size and insert into that flyer. So if you want to change them, you can. You can then save and print it, save and email it, or just save it. You also have access to an open house sign-in page. Suzanne, I'm going to come to your question. So if you click sign-in page, it's going to open up the open house sign-in page. I'll show you that on another site so that we can see it. And you can capture leads that way. Susan asked, when you have no listings but are allowed to sit in other agents' open houses, will this populate correctly? And the answer is yes. So let me just copy this address quickly and pull up the site. Um, 2399. And this is a demo site. So it will show up. Let me pull up another site to show you. 2 things. 1, the sign-in page. 2, the at how it shows. So I can go in. There's an open house here. So this is how that populates. See here, it says open house. Here's the date and the time. It will show the person hosting it. So Suzanne, if you're hosting Thomas's house, it's going to show Thomas's information underneath the listing, and it's going to show your information underneath hosting the open house. There's also a sign-in page here. So page. It's going to open up the sign-in page, and it's always going to show the information of who's hosting the open house here. And those leads go to the person hosting the open house. The client can put in their information. They can choose to have that property texted or emailed to them, and their information is automatically populated in your customer relations tab. 2 things that are going to come up when you do this. Thing number 1 is customers come in, they don't want to put in their information. The way that I overcome this is I say, I can, Catherine. Hey, Catherine, thank you so much for coming into the open house. I do have a sign in. I would love to have you sign in. Catherine says, oh no, I don't want my information anywhere. I say, perfect. It really is a request of my seller that everyone that comes through their home registers. If you could just go ahead, type in that contact box, do not contact me. I'm more than happy to just remove you from the list, but then that gives me a way to track how many people were through the house. Most of the time, people will say yes to that. The other thing people say is, oh, I'm already working with an agent. Perfect. I would love to follow up with that agent. Can you put your agent name in that comment box so that, Annette, it's great to meet you. I won't bother you. I'll call your agent, Margaret, and I'll be in touch with her. But that way I am getting really good feedback to my seller. So to find that again, you went into listings, you went into open houses, and then underneath the actions tab, underneath the open house, there's a sign in page. Does that answer your question, Catherine? And Suzanne, it looks like I answered your question too. Now, you're going to go into listings. You're going to click on open houses. That will open your main open house dashboard. And then every open house next to it has this action button, and you'll click sign in page and it will open it up. Now, let's just go back quick to what we were talking about here. Talking about how do you find the people that are moving into the home and that live in those homes in your farm. Your open house is a great way to find those people because you're sitting in the home, you're holding it open, you're asking them for information, and you're doing it once a month. The more consistent and strategic you are with your open houses, the easier it will be to identify who lives in those homes and where the people who want to live there are. Because what you'll be doing in 2020 is probably working a fairly generic list for your farm. But the goal is that you're building a farm of people who know and trust you and adding information to that so that you can increase the rate of return on your farm. So the next thing, postcards. Sending out postcards to your farm. You need to commit to sending out one postcard a month. One postcard a month, that means that you've seen people via open house and that you are getting in front of them in their mailbox. In order for your postcards to be most effective, you need to be strategic with your timing of your postcards. Think about things like, when do you most often check the mail? So most people check the mail on the 1st and the 15th of the month because those are normal billing cycles. However, that's also when the most junk mail I find ends up in my personal mailbox. So you need to choose, is that a good time because people are checking their mail more frequently, or am I going to get lost in the shuffle? 2, if you're sitting in open house, to have a postcard arrive the week after you're sitting your open house means that you've been in front of those people twice in a row. And the goal of your postcard should be to build familiarity. The number one way, still to this day, that people are finding their agent when it comes to buying and selling a home is, who knows the answer to that? I told you guys this was going to be interactive. So don't everybody raise your hand at the same time, but who knows? What's the number one way that people? So Beth says whoever's in front of them at the moment. Anybody else? Kimberly's got it. So the number one way, according to the National Association of Realtors research, that people find their agent is by personal referral. So the more familiar people are with you, the more they see you as a trusted source, and the more you're providing value before they need it, the more likely you are to get their referral. So your goal is to build familiarity within your farm as the trusted source. So can you send out postcards within IQ Office? You can. And there's some cool stuff coming soon that I'm going to share with you now as well. So if you go into your IQ Office and you go to your marketing tab, you can go up and there's a section that's called My Orders. And within your orders, you can click this plus button in the upper right-hand corner. And there are a ton of postcards in here. So there are agent promotions, there are just listed, there are home value, there are buyers for your neighborhood, there are open house, a whole bunch of different ones. So if I click, hey, I want to see the buyers for your neighborhood, there are several options for you. If you say, hey, I like this option, this is going to work very similarly to how you create a flyer. So anything that I highlight over is something that I can change. If I want to insert an image and click select property, I can click in, I can say, hey, here's the information, and it's going to auto insert it. Mia, that is a really good question. And right now there's not. Let me talk to our development team. So for those of you that aren't looking at that chat box, Mia asked if there was a Spanish option for these postcards so that it would say, I don't know how to say I have buyers for your neighborhood in Spanish. I know a little bit of Spanish, but not that. I will find out if we can do that. Now, that being said, Mia, in the meantime, if you want to use this, there are other options that you can type all your content in. So some of them have everything is editable, some of them it's not. So I just want to show you one that is you could use, and then to let you all know too some choices for language that could go in that. So if I choose this one that's looking for a real estate agent in green, then it is going to, all of this is editable. So a good option might be, hey, I've got buyers, you could change this. I've got buyers for your neighborhood. Here's the information. I can change all these photos. So there are some in here that you could change the text to fit your language needs. Tracy, that's a great question. So let's talk about how these mail out. So after you edit all this information in here that you would like, this is also a good way to say, looking forward to seeing you at the community event, hosting an open house at this address. So you can change this text just because it says looking for a real estate agent. Start to think outside the box about what other language you could put in here. Tom, also to go back to your point about really distinguishing yourself, making sure that this is not a generic, but that you're editing it to fit your branding and your verbiage and who you are as an agent is a definitely good thing. There's a lot of information on this postcard. You're going to click save and continue. When you click save and continue, it's going to take you to this next screen. Let me just get there and one that's going to work. Because this is where you're going to really target your people. Brian, you're going to go to marketing and then orders. When I click next, now I can go in and I can choose my contact types. So if I've got contact types in here, I can say, hey, I want my farm contact type to go into that selected. Notice there is a minimum order of 100. You can choose to have them mailed to your office. So Tracy, if you want to send the cards first class, you would type in the quantity you wanted to send to your office and they would mail to your office, and then you could send them out first class from your office. You also can do a targeted list. So if you're working a geographic farm, you can type in your address and you can choose how many homes close to that address that you would like to send. You can add notes. You can click save and continue. It's going to ask you to review your order. It's going to continue to the payment screen where you're going to put in your credit card information. You're going to submit your payment, and then you're going to get email proofs of your postcards. So you're going to be able to go in, you're going to get email proofs, you're going to approve them, or you're going to go in and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to edit that. And you're going to be able to approve them. Now, some things you need to know about postcards. One, after they are proofed, the sooner we get them proofed, the sooner we get them to the mailer. They take 7 to 10 business days to mail out. So you need to plan that accordingly. What makes sense when you're creating your farm is after you've got your postcard order in and you're choosing your information. So, hey, I've changed everything. I've got it ready to go. You can put in notes. So if I want to put in notes down here, I can do that. So you might put in the notes, I'm working a month ahead, so it's October, and I'm working on my November postcards because I'm ahead of the game and I'm being strategic and I know what my farm is. Please send these out the last week of the month. That gives you enough time that you know they're going to hit the mail at the right time. The notes might be, I ordered 500 of them and I want 250 to go out the first week, and then a week later I want them to go out the second week. So there's some things you can do within that notes section if you'd like. Again, you're going to get an email proof. If you decide you don't want to do something, you can delete it. You can always edit your order until it is confirmed. So you can edit your order until it's confirmed. There are some things coming soon to that orders section. So coming soon to that orders section will be door knockers. So if you want to order door knockers to be delivered to your office, there will be door knockers coming early 2020. There also will be an option to set up a 12-month campaign via postcard to a farm where it is local statistics and home value postcards that go out on a monthly basis. Dave, that's a really good question. So Dave's question was, when specifying who you send to that are the closest address, how are you selecting the nearby homes to mail to? Is your source data MLS? No, our source data is not MLS. I have to look into who it is, Dave, but we are purchasing those addresses. And I need to find out, he also said, are you able to specify by nearby single family homes that are above a certain price level, as an example? I don't know the answer to that. I've never been asked that. Let me find out, Dave. I will answer that question in the Facebook group this afternoon. I'm just going to quick snip that so that I don't lose it. Hang tight with me here, gang. And I'll find out. However, Dave, what I've had agents do to get around that is they get the list from their title company, and then they go in and upload that list as a customer contact type and doing it there. Oh, that's an interesting option, Tracy. I think that's a great thing. Let me find that out too. Oh, this is so fun. So I've got a question from Dave Price, and I've got Tracy. So Tracy's question, just so I'll know what question, and Tracy, I'll answer that on Facebook as well, is can cards be printed with the contact and address, but mailed to my office so that I can send them out first class? I'll find out. Lisa, the cost per card, if they are realistic, is listed right next to the cards on that card page. So it's 65 cents a card for mailed out, and 40 cents a card if they're mailed to your office. If your office has custom content, which some of your offices do, the pricing may be different based on sizing. So it'll say right next to the type price what the price is. Yeah. Nope, Annette, it's just 40 cents a card. Suzanne, I'm going to talk about that. That's on my list in the wrap up of how to track all these people. So your question is coming through. Dave, if you do a 12-month campaign, can the content vary by mailer? Yes, it is a different postcard every month. Great questions, guys. Any other questions about postcards? So coming soon are door knockers, a 12-month campaign with different content every month that goes out, and an auto reorder. So those are the things that are coming soon. Watch for announcements on that. That's coming soon. Annette also just brought up a really good point to share with all of you that I think is really quite genius. That door knocker hangers make great things to put behind the lockbox on your house so that the door doesn't get all dinged up. It also gives your seller something to hand out if they need to. Hey, they had a party at their house. People want to know about your agent. Oh, hey, I've got their information. They actually have a door knocker here, so it doesn't hurt my door. Cool. So those are postcard tips. Next, we are going to talk about door knocking. And this should be something that you do if you do it, and you need to target the people on your farming list. So you're knocking geographically, or you're knocking on people's doors who have shown up at your open house, or you're targeting a market that you know is moving into the home that you're doing. So for example, typically in my market, people who are moving into that rancher style house that we talked about before are moving from much larger homes. So they're typically downsizing from about 2,200 square feet or above, and they want to go to 15 to 1,800. They're multi-level homes. They want to go to single stories, or they're renters. Number one thing when it comes to door knocking is please be safe. So please, 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 if you are knocking on people's doors, you need to be safe. Someone needs to know where you are, and you need to do it during a time that is daylight hours. Also, it is a great idea to leave something behind at the house. This is where door knockers become a great tool. If you don't have door knockers, maybe you're writing a letter and you're leaving a letter on someone's front step. If you have a partnership with a local business and you're door knocking in the fall to remind people that it's time to service their HVAC systems, maybe you work with an HVAC system to deliver a coupon, but leave something behind with your information. 3, practice what you're going to say if someone opens their door. Don't be caught off guard when someone answers their door. The best thing to do for this, I have found, is I practice it in front of my mirror. I get in front of my mirror and I say, oh, hey, thank you so much for answering your door. My name's Kelsey. I was just in the neighborhood. I've got a lot of people that are looking for this area, and I wanted to see if you were interested, or you knew anyone who was maybe interested in more information about the real estate market. I also was talking to a friend of mine who works at XYZ Landscaping Company, and they've actually given me a $5 sprinkler blowout coupon that I just wanted to give to you as a courtesy to my friend who runs that system. Whatever it is you say, you practice it before you say it. For surely the first person that opens the door, you're going to jumble your words if you've never door knocked before, and that's okay. Laugh it off. We're not all perfect. This is also a great time to go live on your Facebook business page. So we're going to get into the Facebook social media side of things later, but this is a great time to take a minute to go live and talk about the neighborhood or talk about homes in the area and get information out to the people who are following you on social. It is also a great time to take photos of landmarks of the community, not people's houses, but maybe there's a park, maybe there's a street sign, maybe it's a beautiful sunset, maybe it's, you know, whatever you're taking photos of to use in your blogging and your ad copy. It's a great time to do that. Funny story about door knocking. My sister is also in real estate. My sister is not a particularly cat-friendly person. Cats actually really don't like my sister. And she was out door knocking. I had called her. I asked her what she was doing. Oh, I'm door knocking and I'm hanging my knockers. I try to do, 15 homes a week minimum. And all of a sudden she was like panicked. And I was like, hey, are you okay? She's like, there's this cat and it's chasing me. I said, what do you mean a cat's chasing me? She's like, it's running after me. I have to leave. So there are strange things that happen when you're door knocking. And I want you to now imagine a real estate agent running away from a cat down the street in the middle of the day and how hilarious that would be. That is a great story to tell to your clients about the things that you'll do within the neighborhood. So next thing we're going to talk about is, I think, the big piece of this. So we've talked a lot about traditional, conventional styles of farming. You're searching the MLS, you're compiling a list, you're sending out a postcard, you're sitting in open house, you're knocking on doors. And those are all very important because nothing will ever replace face-to-face interaction with potential clients. There is also a great opportunity for you to reach people via social media. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole of Twitter and Instagram today. We're just going to talk about Facebook briefly so that you have a little bit more understanding. And then we're going to talk about how you can share your listings on your Facebook page through your IQ office. And this is also a great opportunity once the integration with Back At You comes in to think about how you can leverage that platform as well that you all have access to. So Facebook advertising tips. We are now underneath a category of advertising when you're within your Facebook that is called special advertisement category. That means that we are in the real estate industry and you're going to agree to terms to go in and create an ad. Content is way more important now than it ever has been. So when we talked about when you're door knocking, taking photos of that community, when you're taking those photos, there's a bunch of data that's on the back end of those photos that tags you geographically. And when you're sharing those photos within your Facebook advertisement, Facebook is using that data to get it in front of people who find that relevant. Your goal when you're creating your Facebook advertisement now is to build an audience. So you're building your farm through your Facebook advertising. You can create a special ad audience. That special ad audience says, hey, I'm going to upload this list of people, and I want you to find people that are like those people. In a nutshell, that's what a special ad audience is. It also is a really good idea to be simultaneously running 2 campaigns. So you're running one advertising campaign about doing your open house, and you're writing a second campaign to target the people who interacted with your first campaign. Does that make sense? So you're saying, hey, broad base, I'm running this ad, I want to reach people. I want to get as much engagement as I can. 2, I'm going to run a second ad that targets the people that engaged with my first ad to drill that market down more. When you do that in your first ad, you're uploading your special ad audience that is your farming list. So now you're reaching people at an open house, in their mailbox, at their front door, and on their social media in the palm of their hand. So now you've reached them 4 ways so far. That is a really quick glimpse at Facebook. All of those things are things that you can absolutely look up in the Facebook business rules on how to do those things. You're better off keeping your first ad that you do broad, uploading your special ad audience, and then focusing your second ad on the people that interacted with your first one. Any questions on that? Okay, let's talk about just quickly. Brian, I need you to be a little bit more specific about what that question is. So let's talk a little bit more about how you can share good information that drives people to your website in your Facebook ad. So if I go out and I take a picture of a community park for a neighborhood, when I take that picture, my phone captures the date, the time, the location of that picture and what community I'm in. They're geotagged on your phone in the data that's in that part of the Facebook. So when I go in and I post that picture on Facebook and I type a little bit about what a great community it is and what the price values are doing and all of that, it's letting Facebook knows where that photo was taken. There's a whole bunch of information about a patent that they just filed that lets them access that data. So within your IQ office, you can go to your listings and all of your listings automatically have some websites built for them. So if you go in on that Actions tab, you can easily share via Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, or go to the website for an individual listing. When you open up that individual listing, it's going to take you to your page. If you don't have a listing and you want to share other agents' listings, you are first going to go to your broker and make sure that your broker is okay with you doing that because it follows all the community rules you're in. Second, you are going to go to your website. And then you are going to say, hey, if I can find my website. You're going to go to your website and you can type in the address of any property in your MLS. Then you can go, you can say, hey, I want to see these details and I want to share this listing on my Facebook. It's going to automatically open up your Facebook page. You can say, hey, I want to share this on a page I manage. Here's my real estate page, and I can share it. If I want that to be the link for the advertisement, I am just going to click on this link in the upper address, and I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it into the ad. The goal should be that you're keeping people on your site. So again, we went into IQ Office. We went into the listing. You can click on Actions and Share here and click Share on Facebook. It's going to auto update into my Facebook page where I can choose where I share it. I also, if I would like, can just go to the web page and copy and paste that into my Facebook if I like. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say, hey, I want to share this on my real estate page. And I can copy and paste it. You choose how you do it. Copy and paste. Here it is. I can add images. I can do whatever I'd like. Your newsfeed on your Facebook page should not just be listings. It should also be things like community photos, information about the market, information about community events, about why to use a real estate agent. All of those things should be things you're sharing socially. They should also be things that you are sharing in your blog. Jamie, I'm going to come back and answer your question in just a second. So here, is some great blogging information. So as you're gathering information from your other activities, questions people are asking you at your open houses, interaction that you're getting on social media, feedback you're getting from door knocking, your blog is a great place to become a resource of information for potential clients. Blog posts should be between 250 and 400 words. And your goal is to post content at least twice a month, so every other week. It's a really good place to share market updates. It's a really good place to ask for engagement. It's also a really good place to share download links to landing pages you created. That is what we're going to talk about next week. And so and we're running right up against our time frame, so know that we're at the end here quickly. But your blog is a great place to put information. You all have access to a blog within your IQ office. To access it, you go into your marketing and into my blogs. When you do that, you can open up your blog, you can add additional entries, and you can say, hey, home for sale in this neighborhood, subtitle, great community, blah, blah, blah. Here's information about the community. By the way, I also have this home for sale. You can click to it, link to it, and get more information here. Here's a picture of the home and click save. You can do a market update 2019, October 2019. Here's what's happening in my market this month. Here's what to expect. This is where you put all that content. It then populates on your website, underneath your real estate, underneath your blog. So there's a bunch of information in here for you. This is where your blog is. You can open these up. You can share them to your social media. So you say, hey, I'm going to share this on my Facebook page to get more information. Jamie asked the question, once the listing goes into pending status, I find that info that I shared on Facebook appears as a link no longer valid. Jamie, that is an issue with the MLS. The MLS stops giving us that information, and so it's not live on your website anymore. And that's the reason. That's not something. Yes. That's not something that we're going to be able to fix because that's an MLS not feeding us the information, so it can't be displayed. This is what I find on Facebook, though, and Lisa, I'm going to come to your question, is that most people on Facebook are operating in this space more than they're operating within your page to scroll through a whole bunch of things. Perfect. Yep. So that's a question for your MLS staff and your managers on what they're choosing to display. So Lisa says, can you use information from the company to post in your blog? Yeah. So if your company is sending out information and you want to post it in your blog, you can say, okay, I got this email from my office. I'm going to copy and paste it into my blog. The other thing that you can do is you can choose to include entries from your company's blog. So as an agent, if you want to include your company blog in yours, you just click yes. And then your blog is being populated by your company blog as well. That's a ton of information today. A ton. I do want to make sure you all know that there is more information coming. We're going to break down each of those areas again over the next 4 or 5 weeks to get information. I want to make sure I'm being really respectful of your guys' time. So I do have a couple minutes that I can stay and answer questions. But if you have appointments at the top of the hour, know that it's going to be recorded. You can zing to the back and I'll keep recording questions that come in. And we'll do a follow-up on this class that'll go out to you guys today too. Can the company have the agent's blog? No, not at this time. So right now, if you're an agent, you have access to your agent blog and the company blog, but not vice versa. Other questions that you guys have. There's a ton of information, and really the next steps are going in and saying, okay, I've got all this information, and I'll post this document on our Facebook page too and send it out with the email that goes out today as well. But really it is, first you're going to define your farming area. You're going to then run an MLS search that matches your farm to make sure that there are at least 30 homes out of 200 that are moving within that category. And then you're going to build your strategy. What am I going to do on a monthly basis? You're going to choose 3 of the things off this list that you're going to do every single month. If you want to get to our past webinars as well, so there are webinars on all of this information that we went through in a little bit more detail. We do have a YouTube channel. Let me get to the right channel here. It's called Realistic Support. I am going to go in and share that link right now. So you can always go look up past links for our webinars here on our YouTube channel or individual how-tos. So LaWanda, if you wanted to look up blogs, you would just type in blog, and all the information about blogs that we have would be in that section. You can see all of our upcoming classes at this next link I'm going to share, and I hope you will join our conversation on Facebook. Some information on questions that came up today in class will be for surely shared there so that you're all in the loop. But here's the link to that Facebook page as well. You're going to get an email copy of this. I do want to make sure there's no other questions and you all know where to start. So you're going to start by defining. You're going to search to make sure that what you defined works. And then you're going to build your strategy. And then you're going to schedule your time. You'll get a copy of this as well. I'll send this out. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions?